Hey y'all, Moses here. Today I want to answer one of the main questions I receive on most of my videos, which is, what are your video settings for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds? There are a few things I'd like to accomplish in this video. 1. Explain my preference for visibility versus visual fidelity, i.e. seeing enemies versus seeing pretty trees and post-processing effects and textures. 2. Give you a few simple optimization tips and my motivations for my settings. And 3. Give you a general overview of all of my settings, including controls. Now, before I get into that, I want to dive into my PC specs, as that is an important part of this video settings question, and I also get this question fairly frequently as well. I'm running a Core i7 6700K overclocked to 4.6 GHz with a all-in-one water cooler, a Founders Edition GTX 1080 with a hybrid all-in-one water cooler from EVGA, 16 GB of DDR4 3200 MHz RAM from Corsair, and a Samsung 950 Pro SSD. My monitor is a PG279Q running at 165 Hz with G-Sync enabled. My mouse, while changing from time to time, is a Logitech G900 at 400 DPI. Otherwise, I'll be using a Zowie FK2 at 400 DPI. Generally speaking, I have a 400 DPI setting and a decent to good mouse. A list of all of these specs and links where you can buy these items are included as referral links in the description of this video. Before getting to the previously mentioned points, I want to first walk you through the process of setting up critical performance enhancing features prior to running the game. There have been many performance guides, tips, and variables tossed around since release. However, I want to cover only the most recent and proven ways to increase your frame rate. Fair warning, I don't prescribe to many of the popular methods of increasing FPS, such as setting specific launch option variables like SM4 and the use all cores commands. So, don't fall out of your chairs yelling at me for forgetting things that are ultimately subjective and sometimes unproven to increase frame rate. The first thing we are going to explore is the Nvidia control panel. My apologies to AMD users, but you can skip this part of the video. First, open the control panel and select Manage 3D Settings. Then, make sure your power management mode is set to Prefer Maximum Performance. Then, go into your Program Settings tab within the same window and add PUBG to your games using the Add button and selecting tslgame.exe. Once that is completed, scroll down to the Threaded Optimization setting and select On as the setting. Even if this is set to auto, choose On instead. This has been proven to increase frame rate performance on nearly all Nvidia machines, and I noticed a significant increase in frame rate. Now I want to walk you through setting up ReShade, a third-party post-processing tool that I use to sharpen up my visual fidelity, which ultimately leads to better visibility. This program is completely optional and has been condoned by the developers as an improved mod. The website you are looking for is reshade.me. Download the program and then run it, selecting the TSL game executable in your Steam folder, which can be found in Program Files, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, and then PUBG. Select the TSL game folder, Binaries, Windows 64 or 32, and then the executable. Once selected, click on the DirectX 10 button and hit Yes when it asks you to download common shaders. Once that is completed, you will be given a long list of downloaded shaders. Deselect all of the options and then check the boxes next to Adaptive Sharpen and Technicolor 2. These are the only two shaders I personally use. That's it for now, the rest we will set up once we enter the game. There is one more thing that I personally use to increase the color saturation in the game, and that is digital vibrance in the Nvidia control panel. Combining this with ReShade may be a bit overkill to some, but I run at 80% digital vibrance. I'll leave this up to you to include if you wish. My motivation behind these settings is simple. I want to make sure that every enemy is as visible as possible. ReShade and the other settings increase visual fidelity, but also increase visibility. The sharper player models look, the easier they are to pick out from the background in places like foliage or dark areas. This to me is more important than post-processing, particles, and things like anti-aliasing, which smooth model edges, making them blend into their backgrounds. The underlying factor here is competitive edge. Having a competitive edge over your enemy can mean the difference between winning a round or losing one. Being able to see your enemy clearer than they can see you is as clear an advantage as you can have. We are now going to enter the game and review setting up the graphical settings and ReShade variables. First, go to your video settings and select Very Low as your video profile. This will remove visual noise from anti-aliasing and post-processing, and will also give you a decent frames boost based on the low render quality of foliage and other world objects. I prefer to leave my textures on Ultra as it adds some visual fidelity without reducing visibility. This, of course, is your choice. One common misconception is view distance and its effect on the game. Leaving your view distance on high will render grass and foliage at a farther distance, potentially concealing enemy players hidden in grass. I recommend you leave this on low to increase the chances of spotting bush campers and sneaky snakes. The next step is to properly set up ReShade within the game. Hit Shift F2 to bring up the ReShade menu, create a preset named PUBG, or whatever you like, and then select the Home tab. Enable the Adaptive Sharpen and Technicolor 2 options. You don't need to change anything within the Adaptive Sharpen setting, but Technicolor 2 needs some adjustment. Scroll to the bottom options and select the Strength field. Change it to 0.50 or 50% strength. This is the setting that I use. You can play around with this to get the look you desire. Once that is complete, select the Settings tab at the top of the ReShade menu and then change your usage mode from Configuration to Performance mode. ReShade has little, if any, impact on game performance in case you were worried. Once that's done, ReShade is configured and you're ready to go. Instead of going over the rest of my settings like I said I would, I'm going to include screenshots of all my settings in the description. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If this video was helpful to you, please hit the like button and leave a comment down below. I've really come to enjoy reading all your comments, and I've received a lot of great information from all of you as well. As always, you can come and find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/wtfmoses and on Twitter at wtfmoses. Again, thank you for your viewership, and until next time, I'll see you out there.